pessoal, meu nome é Bernardo. Welcome to a new video. This week we're continuing on the subject from last week. I'm going to teach you the second solo for Fooled Around and Fell in Love, the Winery Dogs version. I hope you had time to practice the first solo. If you have any doubts, feel free to put them in the questions, just write them all. I will answer to each and every one of your comments. Let's get to it. Let's learn the second solo to Fooled Around and Fell in Love. So I hope you watched last week's video, because I'm going to reuse a couple of concepts from that video, as Richie also reuses it on the second solo. So the beginning of the solo starts on an F chord, like you were doing before, but here you just let go of the middle finger, and then you hammer it on again, like you pluck the G open, and then you hammer on the second fret, as if you were doing the chord again. From there you play the first on the B. Like this. So it's like F, you open this note, you hammer it on again, and then on the first on the B, and then from here you do a half step bend on the third fret of the B string, and you release to the first fret of the B. So it's without bending, it would be like this, but you want to do the bend. And then from here you pluck the second fret of the G up to the 14th, you pluck the 13th, then you hammer it on and release the 15, release, and then you do a 1.5 step bend on the 15th fret of the B, and you apply some vibrato to it, so it would be as if you would reach this note. These are some of the hardest bends of this solo. From this point, let me play it a bit slow, the whole of it. You can also apply some vibrato here, as I have done just now. These are the parts that we learned so far. So from this bend, you do this. So it's like you play the 13th to the 15th of the B, and then you go to the 13th of the E, then you go back to the 15th of the B and you do a half step bend, and you release to the 13th. So once again all together, a bit of a pentatonic lick. So from the 13th of the B you go to the 15th of the G, back to the 13th of the B, and then you play the 13th with a straight away a hammer onto the 14th on the G, and you finalize in the 15th of the D. So this lick would be, and you pluck it twice. So now from this one, the next lick starts on the 10th of the D. You play the 10th, you do a hammer on the 12th, and then you release it. And then you do a bend on the 12th fret of the G string, like in the first solo, very like this, but on the 12th fret. So up until this point, let me play again slower. That's what we got so far. From here, you go to the 13th fret of the B, and you release it to the 10th, and then you go to the 13th of the E, and you repeat this, and and you have to pay attention to the rhythm. And then you do the 13th to the 10th from the B string again, and then from the 10th on the B you go to the 15th on the E and you bend it one step. This is a transition that is a bit tricky, but it's something that you will have to try and figure out how to work in such a short amount of time that you have. So then you start this bend, you do it twice, and then you release it to the 13th on the E, and from this release you go straight away to the 15th and you bend it 1.5 steps to reach this note. So you do this bend 1.5, then you do this one 1 to reach this note, 1 step again, and you end on the 13th. So all these bends together would basically be just this part. And then you apply a bit of vibrato on the 13th when you end this phrase. And then you go back to the descending lick that's present in the first solo and in this one as well, but it has a slight variation, which is this. So you start on the 15th on the B, you go to the 13th on the E, and then you go back to the 15th again and you bend it half a step. After the bend, you release to the 13th of the B, you go to the 15th on the G, and then back to the 13th on the B. And now the different part is that you go back to the 15th on the B, then you release it to the 13th, and then you go to the 15th on the G. So it's like and then you end on this cool chromatic lick. So the full solo up until now would be so this whole descending lick it's like this part you already know, I hope. And then you bend the 13th on the G, and then from this bend you play the following notes: 15th and 13th on the G, and then 15th, 14th, 13th, 11th, 12th on the A, and then you play back and forth between the 15th on the D and the 12th on the A. So it's like 13, 15th, 13th, 15, 14, 13, 11th, slide to the 12th, 15th, 12th, 15th, like that. So, and now is probably what I think is the toughest part of the whole solo, because you have to play in a very percussive finger picking style. You have to fuse these two aspects. I don't think I do it really well, but I do know how to do it. It is as follows: you start on the 13th on the G, and then this is a chromatic lick like that. So 13, 14 and 15 on the G, and then you go to the 13 on the B. And what you have to do is you have to use these two fingers for the G string and this one for the B. So this one, the middle finger stays always on the B, and while you are plucking the different frets on the G, you have to like go back and forth between these two fingers, the pointer and the thumb. This would be something of the sort. I want to do it really slow to you guys to see in the camera, but the angle is not helping me. But I hope you understand. You play the 13th with the thumb, the 14th with the pointer, and then 15th with the thumb, and then you use the ring finger for the 13th on the B. This part, in my opinion, is so difficult because it's so fast, and there's this specific type of sound, this percussiveness between the interplay of these fingers and these fingers. Everything has to really lock with each other. This hand has to really lock with this one. So it's a really good thing to practice if you do it with the pick. It is super easier than this. But yeah, it's basically like this. 13, 14, 15, and then to the B string on the 13 and just repeat. So let me do it slower and let me try to start to build speed for you guys to see what I'm trying to convey with this sound that is needed. So if you start really slow, it's like... It's not so much about the notes themselves, but it's, as I said before, the interplay between the notes and this hand, the picking hand. It's like, it's the percussiveness of the interplay of these notes. So then after this, you go to this, to the 12th fret of the G, and you do a half step bend, so it's like... And then from this bend, you finish it up with the chromatic lick again. And then from the chromatic lick, you go to this A chord. And then from the A chord, you plug the 7th on the G. You slide it up to the 9th. Then you play the 8th on the B. And then from the 9th of the G, you go back to the 7th. And then you pull it off to the 5th of the G. This finishing lick, it's like this. And then you continue to play the chords. Then after this solo, there's a tiny melodic thing that he does. I don't consider that a solo, it's more of a fill. It's basically the same of the first solo. So if you learn that one from the first video, you will just have to do the same thing except for the end. So now I'll play the whole of the second solo again. If you guys want to, feel free to follow me. I'll try to play really slow. Now the other melodic thing that I was mentioning. The difference here is that by the end you go to the 13th, you slide up to it, and then you release to the 10th. And then you go from the 13th to the 15th of the B, then to the 13th of the E, and then back to the 15th of the E. And that's it. So it's like... And then... you do the chords again, and then you finish the song. Okay, that's pretty much it, guys. The trickiest part, as I said before, is this like percussive. part of the solo. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward. If you learn the first one, it will help a lot because it's very much in the same style. I hope you guys enjoyed this lesson. Please tell me in the comments how I'm doing. If you like the songs that I'm teaching, what songs would you like to see taught next? I'll be sure to try and accommodate to your requests. And also, while we're on this, please subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, because that's how you will know that a new video is out. I always put videos out on Fridays. The time is not well defined, but they are always out on a Friday, and if you want to watch it straight away, click in the notification bell. Also, please feel free to follow me on Instagram. I have some stuff planned for the next couple of months with my Incubus tribute band, and so I want to keep you guys updated with all that. Instagram is probably the best place for you guys to know what I'm up to these days. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the lesson, and I'll see you guys next week with a new video. Take care and bye bye. Have a fantastic weekend.